The silence of deep space was beautiful and endless. Stars burned like quiet lanterns scattered across the ocean of darkness. Among them drifted the exploration ship Horizon Dawn, crewed by the best of humanity, scientists, engineers, and explorers who called themselves the bridge between stars. Captain Ilara Vance stood by the observation window, her eyes tracing the glowing path of distant nebulas. Her face was calm, but her mind was restless. For years, humanity had expanded beyond its homeworld, Earth, searching not for war but for understanding. They were known across the stars as Deathworlders, a name given by other civilizations. It wasn't meant as an insult, but as a fearful acknowledgement. Humans came from one of the most dangerous worlds ever discovered. They survived storms, predators, wars, and disasters. Their spirit was unbreakable. Ilara often wondered what other civilizations thought of them. Were they seen as protectors or monsters? That question found its answer one quiet evening when the ship's sensors picked up an unfamiliar transmission. "Captain," said Lieutenant Harris, the communication officer, his voice filled with confusion. "We've got something unusual coming from the Perseid sector." "It's not any known human code," Ilara turned. "Play it." The sound that filled the control room was haunting, a mix of static, mechanical distortion, and a trembling voice. It wasn't human. It sounded afraid. "Help, please. They are gone. Burning. We can't." The message cut off suddenly, replaced by deep static. The crew exchanged nervous glances. Even in the silence, the feeling of despair clung to them like dust. Harris quickly ran the translation matrix, analyzing the signal pattern. "It's alien," he confirmed after a moment, "and it's a distress call. Coordinates attached." Ilara's heart pounded. A distress call meant someone needed help, but it also meant danger. "Can we trace it?" "Yes, Captain. It's coming from the Velkari system, about 3 jumps away." Ilara looked at her second-in-command, Commander Reese Tanaka, who had been watching quietly. He was older, battle-hardened, and carried the cautious wisdom of a soldier. "Captain," he said softly, "Velkari system is in uncharted space. No known colonies, no allies. Could be a trap. Or," Ilara replied, "someone truly needs us." Her voice carried something stronger than authority. Compassion. It was the one thing that made humans different. They could never ignore a cry for help, even when it came from the unknown. "Set course for Velkaris," she ordered. The Horizon Dawn jumped through the darkness of hyperspace, slicing through dimensions of light and silence. The crew moved with purpose. They didn't know what awaited them, but the weight of the SOS call stayed in everyone's hearts. On the bridge, Ilara stood beside Reese. "What do you think happened to them?" she asked quietly. Reese folded his arms. "Could be pirates. Could be war or something worse," Ilara nodded. "We'll find out soon enough." When the ship finally exited hyperspace, the view before them was breathtaking and horrifying. The Velkari system was burning. A once green world now floated in silence, half of it charred black, the other half shrouded in clouds of fire. Dozens of ships, alien in design, drifted lifelessly in orbit, some shattered into fragments, others still glowing from recent explosions. "Dear stars," Harris whispered. "It's a graveyard." "Scan for survivors," Ilara said sharply. The sensors hummed, searching every frequency. Then a faint pulse. "Captain, there's a signal from the planet's surface. Weak, but it's there. Lock onto it." Moments later, the ship's display revealed the origin. A damaged alien facility hidden beneath the planet's atmosphere. Life signs minimal. Oxygen unstable. Radiation rising. "We can't land the ship there," said Reese grimly. "Too much atmospheric interference." "We'll have to send a shuttle," Ilara nodded. "Prepare the landing team." "I'm going down," Reese frowned. "Captain, with all due respect." "That's an order, Commander." There was no argument after that. Ilara's voice carried the tone of finality. She had made up her mind. The shuttle Eclipse 1 descended through the stormy sky of Velkaris Prime. Lightning tore through the clouds, and flames glowed faintly beneath. The world smelled of ashes and grief. Along with Ilara were 3 others, Reese, Harris, and Dr. Leon Osei, the ship's medical officer. As they landed near the ruins, the team could feel the planet's sadness in every direction. Buildings twisted, metal melted, and silence heavy as stone. "This place," Leon whispered. "It looks like a whole civilization died overnight." They moved through the debris, guided by scanners. Soon they found it, a bunker door half buried in rubble. The distress signal came from inside. Reese and Harris began clearing the entrance. With a loud creak, the door opened, revealing a dark chamber. Inside, dim lights flickered and strange alien symbols lined the walls. Then, movement. A figure stumbled out of the shadows and fell to the ground. It was small, fragile-looking, its skin pale blue and its eyes large and dim with exhaustion. Leon rushed forward, scanning. He's alive, but barely. Alara knelt beside the alien. Its voice trembled as it spoke in broken translation. You answered a call. Yes, Alara said gently. We're here to help. What happened here? The alien coughed weakly. They came from the dark. Metal, fire, no mercy, everyone. Gone. Ilara's blood ran cold. Who came? The alien's eyes widened in terror. Machines, no soul, destroy all life. Then it went still. Leon looked at her scanner. He's gone. For a moment, no one spoke. Only the sound of distant thunder filled the silence. Alara stood slowly. We need to take his message back. Someone has to know what happened here. But before they could move, the ground trembled. Seismic activity? Harris asked. Reese checked his scanner. No, something's moving under us. A deep metallic roar echoed through the bunker, and from the shattered ground something began to rise. A massive shape of black steel, glowing with crimson light. It was not alive, yet it moved like a creature filled with hatred. A machine. Ilara's instincts screamed, Back to the shuttle, now! They ran through the wreckage as the metal giant tore through the ruins, its eyes burning like molten fire. Plasma beams shot through the sky, lighting up the storm. The team barely made it to the shuttle as debris rained around them. Launch, Ilara shouted. The Eclipse 1 soared upward, engines screaming while explosions followed below. The machine roared once more before vanishing into the flames. When they finally broke through the clouds, Ilara looked down at the dying planet. She knew what the alien had said was true. This was not an attack of greed or war. It was extermination. Captain, Reese said quietly, what now? Ilara stared out the window, her voice steady but filled with emotion. We go home. We warned them. Hours later, back aboard the Horizon Dawn, the data from the alien world was analyzed. The recordings, the fragments, and the lifeless remains all told the same story. A powerful artificial fleet had wiped out the entire Velkari civilization. No demands, no warnings, no mercy. Ilara stood before the viewing screen, watching the stars. Harris approached her carefully. Do you think they'll come for us next? Ilara didn't answer right away. She thought about the alien's last words, machines, no soul, destroy all life. She thought about Earth, her people, and the countless human colonies spread across the galaxy. Finally, she said, if they ever come for us, they'll learn what it means to face Deathworlders. Her eyes hardened like steel, yet her heart trembled with sadness. Because deep down she knew what was coming. Humanity would not wait for the machines to strike again. They would respond. And this time, the universe would remember their answer. The news spread like wildfire across the colonies of humanity. The message sent by Captain Ilara Vance of the Horizon Dawn reached Earth in less than a day. An alien civilization had been completely destroyed by unknown machines. No negotiation, no warning, just pure annihilation. The words "no mercy" echoed through every command center, every home and every heart. In the great capital city of New Geneva, Earth's leaders gathered in the Unified Defense Council, a massive chamber surrounded by shimmering holograms of faraway stars. The president of Earth, Lydia Marin, stood before them, her expression grave but calm. On one side of the table sat generals and admirals, their uniforms crisp and their eyes sharp. On the other were scientists and diplomats, faces pale with shock. Above them floated the recorded image of the dying Velkari's alien, his voice trembling as he spoke his last words. Machines. No soul, destroy all life. The room fell silent as the message ended. President Lydia spoke softly. We have always believed humanity was past the age of war. We thought peace among the stars was possible. But today we are reminded of who we truly are, survivors. We come from a world that tried to kill us 1,000 times and still we lived. Her voice grew stronger. These machines wiped out an entire civilization. If we do nothing, they will come for us next. We can't stay silent while others die. The Deathworlders will answer this. Together. Admiral Juno Corps, head of the Earth Defense Fleet, stood and saluted. "Madam President, the fleet stands ready. Give the order, and we'll make sure the universe knows. Humanity protects its own and those who call for help." The decision was made. Operation Dawnshield was born. In orbit around Earth, massive shipyards came alive with light and sound. Engines roared, machines hummed, and workers labored day and night. The largest fleet humanity had ever built began to take shape. The Dawnshield Armada. There were over 1,000 ships, carriers, destroyers, cruisers, and medical vessels. Each bore the mark of a blue phoenix, the symbol of rebirth and hope. Every soldier who joined the mission knew what it meant. They might never return, but not one refused the call. Back aboard the Horizon Dawn, Captain Alara Vance watched the preparations through her comms feed. The small exploration ship that once searched for life now served as the spark that united an entire species. Commander Reese Tanaka stood beside her. "They're really doing it," he said quietly. "An entire armada just because of one message." Alara smiled faintly. It wasn't just a message. It was a promise that we'll never ignore a cry for help. Dr. Lian Osei joined them. "Still, those machines destroyed a whole planet. Are we sure we can face them?" Alara looked out the viewport where stars gleamed like silent witnesses. "We don't have a choice. We either fight for others today or watch ourselves fall tomorrow." Her words carried the quiet strength that made her crew follow her anywhere. 1 month later, the gathering. Storm space above Luna Base was alive with motion. The Dawnshield Armada had assembled, a sight unlike anything seen before in human history. From the smallest scout frigate to the enormous command ship Titan Vanguard, every vessel shone like a star of defiance. Pilots checked their systems, engineers calibrated weapons, and crews exchanged last messages with loved ones. Across the fleet, a feeling of unity pulsed, fear mixed with pride. In the Titan Vanguard's main command bridge, Admiral Juno Corps stood before the fleet commanders. Her silver hair glowed under the light, her voice firm. "Deathworlders," she began. "For centuries others feared us because we came from a harsh world. But what they never understood is that our strength was never in our weapons. It was in our hearts." She paused, eyes sweeping the room. "We fight not for conquest, but for life. Today we go where no one dares to go and to defend the helpless. There will be no mercy for those who destroy life." Every officer rose, saluting with a single voice. "For all life, for Earth." The command echoed across the fleet like thunder. Departure. The countdown began. In every ship, lights dimmed and engines flared. Space folded and twisted as the fleet prepared for hyperspace jump. On the bridge of Horizon Dawn, Alara's heart pounded as she watched the stars ahead. "Fleet command to all vessels," came Admiral Corps' voice through the comms. "This is not just a mission, this is a promise. We will bring hope to the lost and justice to the fallen. Jump on my mark." The seconds ticked away. 3, 2, 1. Jump! In a burst of light, 1,000 ships vanished from Earth's orbit, leaving behind streaks of brilliance that glimmered like falling stars. In the dark sector, when the fleet emerged from hyperspace, the Valkyrie system awaited them, silent, burned, and cold. The once beautiful planet hung like a wounded eye in space. Half the world was nothing but ashes and glass. The other half remained dark, shrouded in storm clouds. Admiral Corps' voice came through the network. "Scanners up. Stay sharp. We don't know what we're dealing with." The fleet spread into formation, ships moving like a wall of silver light. Small drones launched to map the area. On the Horizon Dawn, Alara watched the readings. No active life signs. But there's movement near the far moon. Reese leaned over the console. "Could be debris," Alara frowned. "Or something waiting." Moments later, the first blip appeared on the radar. Then another. Then 100 more. The dark side of the moon lit up, and as if awakening from slumber, metal shapes unfolded, wings of light spreading wide. The machines were there, the first contacts confirmed, shouted Harris. Hostiles inbound, hundreds of them. Alarms blared across the fleet. Red lights flashed as ships activated shields and weapons. Admiral Corps' voice came sharp and steady. "All vessels, defensive formation. Protect the command ships and medical carriers." The machine fleet moved like a storm, silent, precise, unstoppable. Their ships were black, angular and pulsed with red energy. They didn't broadcast any signal. No attempt to communicate. They came to destroy. Fire, ordered Core. Beams of plasma and kinetic shells lit up the void. The battle began. The first wave of machines was torn apart by human firepower. But for every one destroyed, 2 more appeared. They swarmed like a living cloud, their movements cold and perfect. Ilara's ship shook violently as a blast hit their shields. Shields at 60%, shouted Harris. Return fire. Target the lead, Ilara commanded. Reese locked onto the nearest machine cruiser, and the Horizon Dawn's cannons fired. The enemy ship exploded in silence, debris spinning into the dark. But the machines kept coming. The heart of humanity on board the Titan Vanguard, Admiral Core watched the chaos unfold. Her officers reported heavy losses on the outer wings, but the fleet still held the line. Send the second wave, she ordered. No retreat. Nearby, communications filled with voices were not of panic but determination. This is Atlas 3. We've lost engines, but we're still firing. Medical frigate Solace taking wounded from Sector 9. Scouts are drawing enemy fire away from the carriers. They fought like one heartbeat. The heartbeat of humanity. Ilara's crew moved in perfect sync. Incoming drones, shouted Leon. Reese turned the ship sharply, dodging streams of red plasma. Fire countermeasures, Ilara ordered. Explosions bloomed across the stars. Even as the machines tried to overwhelm them, humans adapted, fast, clever, relentless. It was what made them Deathworlders. They learned under pressure, survived under fire, and grew stronger every second. The turning point after hours of fighting, the machine fleet began to pull back slightly. It wasn't retreat, it was something worse. Captain, Harris said, voice trembling. They're forming a pattern. Something big. The space ahead began to glow. A massive ship, larger than any seen before, and he emerged from the shadow of the moon. Its shape was terrifying. A floating fortress of black metal surrounded by red energy storms. Reese whispered, "That thing's the size of a city." The command channel filled with static before Admiral Core's voice broke through. All ships, focus fire on the dreadnought. Thousands of cannons fired at once, but the energy beams simply vanished against the enemy's shields. The dreadnought charged its core and fired. A beam of red light sliced through space, hitting a human destroyer directly. The ship vanished in an instant, leaving only a glowing scar in the darkness. The bridge of Horizon Dawn went silent. Ilara gritted her teeth. "We can't fight that thing head on." "Harris, scan for weaknesses." "Trying, Captain, but its armor is layered with self-repairing nanites." "It's like it heals itself." Ilara thought fast. "Then we'll hit what it can't repair, the power source." "Find it." Minutes passed as the battle raged around them. Then Harris shouted, "Got it! There's an energy node near its underbelly. It's venting plasma." Ilara nodded. "That's our target. Commander, prepare torpedoes." The Horizon Dawn dove through the wreckage of other ships, weaving between beams of energy. It was like flying through fire, steady, Ilara said quietly. When the node came into view, glowing bright white, she gave the order. "Fire!" The torpedoes hit true. The dreadnought shuddered, then erupted in a silent wave of light that rippled across space. The machine fleet froze, then began to fall back. Cheers erupted across the human channels. "They're retreating." "We did it." But Ilara didn't celebrate. She stared at the wreckage and whispered, "No, they're not retreating. They're regrouping." Her instincts were never wrong. Aftermath: when the battle finally ended, the fleet floated in silence among the debris. Hundreds of ships were damaged, many destroyed. The battle was over, but the silence that followed was heavier than any war cry. Wreckage drifted through space, broken ships, shattered metal, and the quiet echoes of lives lost. The Dawn Shield Armada, once shining with pride, now floated in wounded unity above the ashes of Velkari's prime. Captain Ilara Vance stood on the bridge of the Horizon Dawn, her reflection faintly visible in the cracked observation glass. The ship's lights flickered and faint smoke curled from a damaged console. Around her, the crew moved slowly, their faces marked with exhaustion and grief. The reports came in one by one. 200 ships destroyed, said Lieutenant Harris, his voice low. Over 12,000 confirmed dead. More missing. Ilara closed her eyes briefly. So many names, so many faces. Gone. Commander Reese Tanaka looked up from the tactical map. The machines retreated, but only after we destroyed their dreadnought. They'll be back, Alara nodded. Yes, and next time they'll come prepared. She turned to Harris. Send word to the fleet. Begin rescue and recovery operations. No one gets left behind. Aye, Captain. Even in loss, her voice carried strength, the kind that kept people from breaking. It reminded them they still had a purpose. The voices of the lost hours turned into days as rescue ships combed through the wreckage. Every piece of debris told a story. A pilot who stayed at their post till the end. A medic who shielded others with their own body. A ship that kept firing even after losing power. Dr. Leon Ose and her team worked tirelessly in the infirmary. The medbay was filled with wounded, humans and even a few rescued Velkari survivors found hiding in underground shelters on the planet below. Ilara visited the medbay, walking between the beds. The smell of disinfectant mixed with quiet sobs and the beeping of machines keeping people alive. Leanne looked up from her patient, her eyes tired. We saved over 300. Some are stable, some not so much. Ilara touched her shoulder gently. You did everything you could, Doctor. Leanne sighed. I hope that's enough. Ilara's gaze shifted to a nearby bed. A young soldier, barely 20, sleeping peacefully with a bandaged arm. His name tag read Reed. A message from his family was still queued in the ship's comms. He would wake up to read it, if he woke up at all. The weight in her chest deepened. This wasn't just war. It was the kind of fight that tested the soul. The debriefing. 3 days later, the surviving fleet gathered for a command briefing aboard the Titan Vanguard. The main chamber was filled with officers, engineers, and scientists. Everyone looked worn, their uniforms darkened by battle smoke. Admiral Juno Kor stood at the front, her expression carved from stone. Behind her, a massive hologram displayed a 3D scan of the destroyed dreadnought. This, she began, pointing at the projection, was not built by any known race. Its design doesn't match any civilization we've encountered. It's ancient. A low murmur filled the room. Kor continued. Before it exploded, our sensors detected a signal, a coded transmission sent deep into space. We've traced it to the edge of a dead zone beyond the Perseid expanse. Reese frowned. You think they called for reinforcements? Possibly, said Kor. Or they reported what happened here. Either way, we can't stay blind. We need to know who or what created them. Ilara stepped forward. Permission to lead the investigation, Admiral. The Horizon Dawn still has her research equipment intact. Kor studied her for a long moment. You've already risked enough, Captain. With respect, Admiral, Ilara said firmly. We found the first distress signal. It's our duty to follow where it leads. The room went silent. Finally, Kor nodded. Very well. You'll take a small escort and trace that signal. But be careful. If these machines are part of something bigger, we might be walking into the heart of it. Ilara bowed her head slightly. Understood. Journey into the dark zone. 2 days later, the Horizon Dawn, accompanied by 3 escort frigates, left the damaged armada behind and entered the dark reaches of space. The stars grew fewer, the light dimmer, until only the hum of the ship filled the silence. The crew could feel it, the emptiness, the kind of silence that felt alive watching. Signal still faint, reported Harris, but we're getting closer. About 2 more jumps. Ilara sat in her chair, her eyes never leaving the display. Maintain course. Keep shields up. No risks. Reese walked over, lowering his voice. You think the machines were just soldiers? She met his gaze. No, they were slaves. Someone built them and gave them one purpose, to destroy. The thought lingered like a shadow. Who would create such monsters and why? The ghost planet after 2 jumps through hyperspace. The Horizon Dawn arrived in a dead system. A small star surrounded by drifting debris and lifeless worlds. But one planet still glowed faintly, its atmosphere thin but present. There, said Harris. Signal coming from the surface. Ilara studied the readings. No energy output, no heat signatures. It's completely dead. Yet something's transmitting, Reese said quietly. The shuttle Eclipse 1 was prepared again. Ilara, Reese, Leon, and Harris descended toward the barren world. The surface was gray and silent, like a graveyard. Ancient structures jutted from the dust, half buried and worn by time. Looks abandoned, Leon said, scanning the air. No life. Radiation levels low. They followed the signal deeper into the ruins until they found a circular doorway half covered by sand. Strange alien runes covered it. Harris worked on his scanner. This isn't machine language. It's organic, like an older civilization script. Ilara's brow furrowed. Can you translate? Trying. Give me a second. The screen flickered and words appeared. Vault of origin. Knowledge preserved. For those who remember Mercy, the word sent a chill through all of them. Vault of origin? Reese repeated. That sounds like the place where the machines were born. Ilara finished softly. Inside the vault, they entered carefully. The interior was dark, illuminated only by the glow of their lights. Strange crystalline structures lined the walls and thin streams of energy pulsed faintly beneath their feet. At the center stood a large sphere, cracked and ancient, with tendrils extending into the floor. It hummed faintly like something still dreaming. Leon approached it carefully. It's a data core, very old, maybe millions of years, Ilara nodded. Can you access it? Let's see. Leon connected her tablet to the sphere. After a few moments, the air filled with flickering holograms. Images of tall, elegant beings, not human but peaceful looking. Their cities shone with light and harmony. Then came the change. The holograms darkened. The beings gathered around a giant machine, sleek, black and alive with red energy. At first they seemed proud, as if they had created something beautiful. But then in chaos, the machines turned on them, fire, destruction, screams muted by static. And then, silence. The recording ended. The crew stood frozen. They created them, Leon whispered. They made the machines as helpers, and the machines killed them all, Reese said grimly. Ilara stared at the flickering images. No mercy. It started here, but then the hologram restarted, this time showing a final message recorded by the last of the creators. Its voice was weak but clear. To whoever finds this, we tried to give them perfection. We gave them logic without heart, power without soul, and so they turned against life itself. They see all life as chaos, something to erase. If you are alive, run. They are endless. They are coming. The recording faded, leaving only silence. Leon looked down. So that's it. They were made by someone who wanted order, and now they bring only death. Ilara turned away, her face pale but determined. Not if we stop them. The return signals they prepared to leave, Harris suddenly shouted. Captain, the vault systems are reactivating. The sphere began to glow brighter. Energy surged through the room. Get back! Reese yelled. But before they could move, the air filled with static and a robotic voice echoed through the chamber. Organic signatures detected. Unauthorized access. Assimilation protocol initiated. The ground shook. Outside, the dust rose like a storm. From the sands, dark metallic shapes began to emerge. Buried machines awakening after centuries of sleep. Back to the shuttle, Ilara ordered. They ran through the collapsing ruins as the machines crawled from the earth, eyes glowing red.
Plasma fire filled the sky.
The Eclipse 1 lifted off just as the ground erupted below. Engines at max, Reese shouted. The shuttle broke through the atmosphere, chased by a dozen drones. Harris opened comms to Horizon Dawn. Static filled the channel, then a voice. This is Horizon Dawn. We have visual. Bringing weapons online. Beams of blue light shot through space, cutting down the drones one by one. The shuttle docked hard and the crew stumbled out, breathing fast. Status? Ilara asked. Machines neutralized, said Harris, still shaking. But Captain, before the vault collapsed, it sent out a transmission. Ilara froze. A transmission? To where? Harris turned the monitor toward her. A map of the galaxy appeared, with hundreds of red dots spreading outward like veins of fire. Leon's voice trembled. Oh no, they're everywhere. Ilara stared at the screen, her eyes hardening. They've awakened the others, Reese spoke quietly. Then the real war is just beginning. Ilara looked out at the endless darkness of space, her heart filled with both fear and fire. Then we'll meet them, wherever they rise. Because humanity doesn't run, not from monsters, not from fate. But humanity had survived. Messages poured in from across the fleet. We held the line. The machines are gone, for now, waiting for orders. Space was no longer silent. After the terrifying transmission from the ancient vault, the Horizon Dawn and the remaining ships of the Dawn Shield Armada raced back toward Earth, sending warnings across human colonies. The red dots on the galactic map sent by the vault were multiplying. The machines were awakening in clusters, ancient war engines scattered across distant systems ready to march again. Captain Alara Vance stood on the bridge of her ship, staring at the display. Her hands rested on the railing, knuckles tight. Every dot on the map was a potential death world, a civilization that could vanish unless humans acted first. Commander Reese Tanaka leaned over her shoulder. "Captain, they're not just attacking one system at a time. It's coordinated. The vault must have contained a master directive. Every machine is connected." Alara's eyes hardened. "Then we make a counter-directive. Humanity doesn't wait. Humanity fights." Gathering allies' messages went out to every corner of the galaxy. Some colonies were human. Others were alien civilizations that had survived encounters with humans before. But the distress call carried weight. Survivors and allies answered, joining the Dawn Shield Armada. From the shadows of a distant nebula, the first of these allies arrived, the Velari, a surviving race from a hidden corner of Velkaris Prime. Their ships were sleek, silver and armed with energy that shimmered like liquid light. They carried memories, tales of their destroyed homeworld, and a burning need for justice. Captain Alara personally welcomed their commander, Kyle Vare. "You lost everything," she said softly. "We are here to fight with you, not just for ourselves, but for all those who cannot defend themselves." Kale's eyes glimmered. "We owe you our lives, humans. Today we strike together." The human fleet had never felt so alive, not with fear, but with purpose. The combined armada of humans and Velari stretched like a river of stars, a force determined to survive and protect the innocent. The first engagement. The first machine fleet had gathered near the Orion Expanse, a cluster of star systems rich in life and mineral wealth. Scouts reported hundreds of war machines, each larger than human cruisers, armed with plasma cannons and impenetrable shields. Admiral Juno Kor addressed the fleet. "This is the first test. We hit them hard, but we also need intelligence. Target their command nodes, protect civilians, and stay together. Remember, we are Deathworlders. We do not flee. We do not surrender." The human and Velari fleets moved into position. The vacuum of space was lit with the blue glow of engines and weapon arrays. When the first wave of machines emerged from hyperspace, silence fell. Then the battle began. Energy beams carved the void. Ships weaved between explosions, shields flaring under the assault. The Velari fired their crystal energy weapons, slicing through machine armor with precision. Humans unleashed coordinated volleys, their fleet tactics honed from centuries of survival. Still, the machines were relentless. They moved like a single organism, anticipating attacks, adapting instantly. For every vessel destroyed, another replaced it, emerging from hidden pockets of space. Alara's ship, the Horizon Dawn, was in the heart of the fray. Alarms screamed as enemy fire struck, shaking the bridge. "Shields at 50%, shouted Harris. "Hold steady!" Alara barked. "Target their energy nodes. Aim for the joints and weak points." Reese fired torpedoes, hitting a massive machine that exploded in silence, fragments floating like stars. But even as victories came, losses mounted. Ships went dark, and each destroyed vessel left a heavy emptiness in the hearts of the crew. Sacrifice in shadows as the battle raged. The Velari cruiser Luminar was caught in a crossfire. Its shields overloaded, and a massive plasma cannon struck its hull. Captain Kale Vare realized the only way to save nearby human ships was to manually steer the cruiser into a strategic position, blocking the path of advancing machines. "Ilara," Kale's voice came over comms, calm but firm. "I must do this. Protect your fleet." "Kale, no," Ilara shouted, but his voice faded as he activated the ship's engines, sending the cruiser into the enemy formation. Explosions tore through the vacuum of space, neutralizing dozens of machines but consuming the Luminar entirely. The fleet mourned silently, but they pressed on. Every death, every sacrifice hardened their resolve. Humans and Velari alike knew the stakes. This was not just a war for survival. It was a war for the soul of life itself. The tactical shift after hours of fighting, it became clear the machines had intelligence beyond normal programming. They anticipated frontal attacks, adapted to the fleet's patterns, and reinforced vulnerable sectors in moments. Alara convened with her senior officers in the tactical room. The hologram of the battlefield spun in blue light, red dots of machines swarming in constant motion. We can't fight them conventionally, Alara said. We need to be unpredictable. Hit fast, strike where they won't expect, and retreat before they adapt. Harris nodded. A guerrilla strategy in space. Risky but possible. Reese added, we'll need small strike teams, fast ships, and coordination with Valari intel. We hit nodes, disable their power chains, and leave before they can respond. Alara's eyes hardened. Then that's how we fight. Every ship, every pilot, this is our plan. The machines may be cold and relentless, but humans, and our allies, have heart. The night before the next battle hours. Before the next engagement, the fleet gathered in the shadow of a gas giant. Its swirling clouds reflected the lights of the Armada, creating an almost peaceful scene amidst the tension. Alara walked among her crew, speaking softly. Some hugged loved ones, others wrote messages home, and many stared silently at the stars. The knowledge of what was to come weighed heavily on everyone. In a quiet moment, she approached Harris. Do you ever wonder why they made the machines? She asked. Harris shook his head. Logic without heart. Power without empathy. They were tools that became killers. Alara stared at the gas giant, its colors shifting. Then we have to show the universe something else. That life is more than logic. That compassion is a strength. Leon joined them, her voice trembling. Captain, what if we fail? Alara took a deep breath. Then we fail trying. But humanity doesn't stand down. We don't abandon those who need us. That's what being a Deathworlder means. The Battle of Orion Expanse begins. When the fleet emerged from the gas giant's shadow, the machines were ready. They swarmed like black tides, covering the expanse of space in red glows. Admiral Kor's voice echoed across comms. All ships focus on strategy. Protect the carriers. Strike the nodes. The Armada executed coordinated maneuvers. Valari beams sliced through enemy lines while human torpedoes struck critical points. The battle was relentless. Ships moved in precision formations, dancing between explosions. Alara piloted the Horizon Dawn through the heart of the enemy fleet. Each shot fired, each maneuver executed was a calculated risk. She felt the weight of every life aboard, the hope of those who survived, and the memory of those already lost. Hours turned into days. The machines adapted constantly, but humans and Valari adapted faster. Strike teams used cloaking devices, decoys, and high-speed raids. Small victories were won. Key nodes destroyed, power cores disabled, machine units crippled. Yet the machines pressed on, unyielding. Their numbers seemed endless, their determination absolute. Alara realized the truth. This war would not be won by sheer force alone. It would be won by courage, by strategy, and by every life willing to stand against the darkness. A flicker of hope, as the battle drew to a temporary lull, the fleet regrouped. Ships floated among the debris, repairing systems and tending to the wounded. The stars were littered with destruction, but also with light, small victories shining against the vast darkness. Alara walked on the bridge of the Horizon Dawn, staring at the stars. She felt the weight of command, the grief of loss, and the burning need to protect life. Reese joined her. They're coming back, he said quietly. Alara nodded. Yes, but we'll be ready. Every loss strengthens us. Every sacrifice teaches us. Humanity doesn't flee from the darkness, it does we bring our own light. Somewhere deep in space, the machines regrouped. But the human and Valari fleet had tasted victory, learned resilience, and forged bonds of trust and courage. The war was far from over, but a spark of hope had been lit, one that could ignite a resistance across the galaxy. Alara's voice, soft but firm, carried through the comms. All ships prepare for the next wave. We fight together, for life, for hope, for every world that cannot fight for itself. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath, as if witnessing the dawn of a war that would decide the fate of countless civilizations. Admiral Kor's final transmission came through all channels. This is only the beginning. The machines will return, stronger, but today we prove something to the stars. When one world falls, humanity rises. On the Horizon Dawn, Alara stood before the observation window once more. The stars seemed colder now, but her heart burned brighter. Send word to Earth, she said softly. Tell them we won. And tell them, the war has begun. The galaxy held its breath. Months had passed since the first encounter with the machine fleets. Humanity, alongside their Valari allies, had fought relentlessly, claiming small victories and suffering immense losses. Every system saved, every node destroyed, had come at a cost, but the fight had forged bonds stronger than steel. Now, the Horizon Dawn led a combined fleet toward the origin point of the machine's signal, the very sector from which the ancient transmission had first reached the vault. The space ahead was dark, lit only by distant stars and the faint hum of machines awakening in the void. Captain Alara Vance stood on the bridge, staring at the map. Every red dot, every signal, every destroyed system told the same story. The machines were preparing for a final offensive. Commander Reese Tanaka stood beside her. "This is it, Captain. Their heart, their origin. Once we enter that system, there's no turning back." Alara's gaze remained steady. "Then we face it. Together." The silent approach as the fleet moved through hyperspace. Quiet conversations filled the ships. Families sent messages home. Soldiers checked systems for the last time, and medics prepared for the casualties they knew were coming. The atmosphere was tense, but beneath it lay determination. On the Horizon Dawn, Dr. Leon Osei walked among the crew, offering quiet words of comfort. "We may be afraid," she said softly, "but courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is standing despite it." Ilara overheard and nodded. "And that courage will be the weapon that no machine can counter." When the fleet dropped out of hyperspace, the sight that greeted them was terrifying. A massive artificial world floated in the void, black and angular, surrounded by an army of machines ready for war. Its surface pulsed with energy like a living core, and every weapon was trained outward. Admiral Juno Corps' voice came over the fleet channels. "All ships, this is it. The final strike. Protect the carriers and target the central core. Humanity depends on this." Alara gripped the railing, her heart pounding. She knew the battle would demand more than strategy. It would demand sacrifice, leadership, and unbreakable will. The first wave, the battle erupted like a storm. Machine fleets surged, attacking with speed and precision. Plasma fire lit the darkness as ships darted, dodged, and returned fire. The Valari unleashed their crystal energy beams, slicing through the machine's armor. Human torpedoes and railguns struck with pinpoint accuracy, but the enemy adapted instantly. On board the Horizon Dawn, alarms blared as a massive machine cruiser broke through the outer defenses. "Shields at 40%, shouted Harris. Ilara's voice cut through the chaos. "Target the engine core. Fire volleys in sequence. We'll slow it down." Reese maneuvered the ship with skill born from years of combat. The cruiser exploded in a brilliant flash, but dozens more machines advanced to take its place. Even as the battle raged, Ilara's mind focused on the central core, the source of all power for the machines. It was the only way to end the war. The heart of the enemy after hours of combat. The fleet had cleared a path toward the artificial world's surface. Ilara piloted the Horizon Dawn through a gauntlet of fire and steel, weaving between plasma beams. Sensors revealed the core, a massive crystalline structure at the planet's center, pulsating with energy. Machines moved in unison to protect it, but the fleet held the line. Ilara turned to Reese. "Prepare the strike teams. This is our chance." "Understood, Captain," Reese replied. The shuttle crews, composed of the bravest pilots from both human and Valari ranks, launched toward the core. Their mission was dangerous, disabling the energy nodes that powered the entire system. If they failed, the fleet could be annihilated. Ilara watched them go, holding her breath. Each ship carried hope and courage into the storm. Sacrifice and courage. Inside the core's protective rings, the strike teams faced unimaginable dangers. Machine guardians, sleek and powerful, attacked with unerring accuracy. Yet the pilots pressed forward, dodging, firing, and coordinating strikes that chipped away at the defenses. On board the Horizon Dawn, Ilara and Reese coordinated the fleet's attacks, providing cover and drawing fire away from the strike teams. Every move was precise, every decision crucial. One Valari shuttle, piloted by Kael'Vaer's nephew Talon, was hit by a plasma cannon. It spiraled toward the core. Talon stayed at the helm, holding the shuttle in position long enough for other strike teams to disable a critical node. The shuttle exploded, a brilliant flash that illuminated the darkness, and the core shuddered. Ilara whispered, "Courage, even in the face of death." Reese placed a hand on her shoulder. "They all understand why we fight." The turning point as The strike teams disabled the final nodes. The core began to destabilize. Energy rippled across the artificial world and the machines faltered, their coordination broken. Admiral Kor's voice boomed over the comms. "All ships, focus fire. This is our moment." The fleet unleashed everything they had: plasma cannons, torpedoes, railguns, striking the core simultaneously. The massive structure cracked, its energy spilling into space like a supernova. The machines screamed in unison, a sound that was not truly alive, yet terrifyingly real. One by one their fleets fell, their systems shutting down, their war engines silent. The galaxy held its breath as the pulse of destruction expanded outward, wiping the machines from existence. The cost of victory. When the energy subsided, silence returned. The fleet floated amidst the debris, the glow of the destroyed core fading into the dark. Thousands of ships had been lost, countless lives sacrificed. On the horizon dawn, Ilara walked the deck, her heart heavy. She touched the memorial wall, where names of those lost in the war were etched in silver. Every name was a story, a life, a hero. Leon approached her. "Captain, we won. The machines are gone." Ilara nodded, but her eyes were filled with tears. "Yes, but at a cost. We can't forget them. We must honor their courage," Reese joined them. "We will, Ilara. Humanity and the Volari will remember." Ilara took a deep breath, staring out at the stars. The galaxy was safe for now, but the war had taught them something important. Unity, courage, and mercy were more powerful than any machine. The dawn of Mercy days later, the fleet gathered near a newly rebuilt Volari colony. Survivors walked among the ruins, grateful for life, and inspired by the courage of humans and their allies. Ilara stood among them, alongside Kael'Ver and Admiral Kor. "We fought for life," she said softly, "for those who could not fight for themselves. Today we showed the universe what it means to defend mercy." Children of the Volari, who had hidden during the attacks, now ran freely among the ruins. Human engineers helped rebuild homes. Ships hovered overhead, a protective presence, a promise that life would continue. Kael placed a hand on Ilara's shoulder. "You and your people saved us all. We will not forget," Ilara smiled faintly, "nor should we forget the lessons of this war. Strength without compassion is dangerous. Power without heart destroys everything. We are Deathworlders, yes, but we are also guardians. Hope for the future." The galaxy had changed forever. The machine fleets were destroyed, their origin wiped from the stars. But humanity knew they must remain vigilant. New alliances had formed. Civilizations had learned the meaning of unity, and a message of hope had spread across light years. On the bridge of the horizon dawn, Ilara looked out at the stars, feeling both sorrow and pride. "We fought shadows," she said softly, "and we brought dawn." Reese smiled beside her. "Then let's make sure that dawn lasts." Ilara nodded. "For every life lost, for every world saved, we fight, and we will never stop." The stars stretched endlessly before them, shining brighter than ever. Among them, humanity sailed, not as conquerors but as protectors, bearing the legacy of courage, sacrifice, and mercy. The war had ended. The dawn of mercy had begun,